Let's get one thing straight. Positive thinking won't let you do anything. That's not just an unpopular opinion, it's the honest truth that nobody wants to admit. Scroll through your social media feed for more than 5 seconds and you'll see it everywhere. Influencers with beaming smiles telling you to just believe in yourself, that all you need is good vibes, a vision board, and a catchy hashtag. If you think it, you can do it. The world is obsessed with this idea that a positive attitude is the golden ticket to any door you want to open. But have you ever stopped to wonder, is that really true? If positive thinking is so powerful, why isn't everyone living their dream life right now? Why aren't there 60-year-olds joining the NBA? Or people with no medical background suddenly performing life-saving surgeries just because they believe they can? The truth is, positive thinking alone won't make you a champion boxer if you've never thrown a punch, and it won't turn you into a nuclear physicist if you've never cracked open a science book. There are limits, and pretending otherwise isn't just naive, it can actually hold you back. But before you write off positive thinking as useless, let's make something clear. There's a real difference between magical thinking and having a mindset that actually works for you, not against you. Positive thinking, when it's grounded in reality, is like jet fuel for your ambition. It won't let you do literally anything, but it will let you do everything you're already capable of, just better, faster, and with more energy than negative thinking ever could. And in a world where everyone's fighting for an edge, that difference can be the thing that changes your whole story. This isn't just about achieving some motivational speaker's definition of success. It's about designing a life that makes sense for you every single day. Maybe you're someone who's always busy, constantly hustling, but never quite reaching the finish line. You're not alone. For most people, even getting regular exercise or reading a book feels as difficult as climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Life is overwhelming, responsibilities pile up, and before you know it, another year has slipped by and your goals are still sitting on the shelf untouched. So what actually works? What separates the dreamers from the doers? The people who talk about what they want from the ones who actually go out and get it. The secret isn't just a mindset, and it's definitely not luck. It's a combination of clear goal setting, relentless focus, building the right habits, and yes, having a mindset that's positive but also realistic. It's about being honest with yourself, confronting your limitations, and then pushing beyond them, not with wishful thinking, but with real strategy. That's where most people go wrong. They buy into the myth that thinking positive means ignoring reality, pretending problems don't exist, or denying that there are obstacles in their way. In reality, the people who get the most out of positive thinking are the ones who use it as a tool, not a magic wand. They set specific, ambitious goals and break them down into steps. They feed their minds with good information, not just feel-good slogans. Number 8, and when setbacks come, as they always do, they don't crumble. They adapt, they learn, and they keep moving forward. But let's be real, this kind of life doesn't just happen by accident. It's not something you wake up one day and stumble into. It's something you design step by step, decision by decision. And if you're not intentional about it, the world will happily hand you a script that keeps you small, distracted, and endlessly scrolling through other people's highlight reels. So ask yourself, what's really holding you back? Is it a lack of belief, or is it the absence of a clear, actionable plan? Is it the toxic stuff you let into your mind every day, the endless negativity, the junk food of bad news, mindless TV, and pointless arguments online? Or is it simply that you've never been shown the practical steps that take you from where you are to where you actually want to be? In the next few minutes, we're going to cut through the noise and look at the truth behind positive thinking, goal setting, and the real habits that separate average from extraordinary. We'll dig into why most people drift through life without direction and how just a few tweaks to your daily routine can create a domino effect that changes everything. We'll break down the myths, share stories from people who've done the impossible, and give you practical steps you can use today, no matter where you're starting from. And just so you know, this isn't about hustling 24/7 or burning yourself out in the name of success. It's about living a life that feels full, meaningful, and truly yours. It's about making space for quiet reflection, building deep relationships, and doing the kind of work that makes you proud when your head hits the pillow at night. So if you're tired of empty slogans, ready to ditch the self-help cliches, and actually start building a life that works, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have more than just inspiration. You'll have a roadmap, clear steps, and a whole new way of looking at your goals, your habits, and the future you want. Ready to get started? Let's dive in, because the real story of success is way more interesting and way more practical than any just believe it fairy tale you've ever heard. Let's get brutally honest. The world has overdosed on positivity. For decades, we've been spoon-fed the idea that if we just think happy thoughts, we'll manifest everything we want. You've heard the lines, thoughts become things, see it, believe it, achieve it. Whole industries have been built on the promise that optimism alone is enough to rewrite your story. But here's a truth that almost nobody wants to say out loud. Not all dreams come true. Not every wish is granted, and not everyone gets to be whatever they want, just because they plaster a smile on their face and write their goals on a sticky note. You don't have to look far to see why this is a problem. Picture a kid growing up watching basketball highlights and believing, because someone on YouTube said so, that if he just wants it enough, he'll play in the NBA. It doesn't matter that he's 5'6", has never made a high school team, and hates getting up early for practice. According to the pop positivity crowd, all he needs is more belief. But real life doesn't care about your vision board. It cares about genetics, practice, opportunity, and 1,000 other variables nobody ever mentions in those viral motivational clips. The hard truth, there are limits. There are things you simply cannot do, no matter how positively you think. Want proof? Go ask a 60-year-old accountant to start training for the Olympics in gymnastics. Or hand a stethoscope to a random stranger and ask them to perform heart surgery just because they read some affirmations in the mirror that morning. It's not just wishful thinking, it's delusion. And yet most people are drawn to this myth for a simple reason. It feels good. It's comforting. The idea that anything is possible is a beautiful fantasy in a world that often feels cold and indifferent. It lets us believe that our only real enemy is a lack of confidence. And if we just believe hard enough, all the obstacles will magically fall away. But here's where the plot thickens. While it's true that blind positive thinking can set you up for disappointment, there's also a flip side to this coin, a reason the idea is so sticky, even if it's not 100% true. Because while positive thinking won't turn you into a superstar overnight, it will change the way you approach the world. It's not a magic key that opens every door, but it is a tool that can make almost every journey better. Think about it. Imagine two people with the exact same skills, background, and opportunities. One of them faces each day expecting failure, dreading the worst, constantly focusing on everything that could go wrong. The other starts each day open to possibilities, looking for solutions, and actually expecting to find a way through the obstacles. Who's more likely to spot opportunities? Who's going to pick themselves up after a setback and try again? It's not hard to guess. Here's what nobody tells you. Negative thinking is just as powerful as positive thinking, only in the wrong direction. If you're always looking for reasons to fail, you'll find them. If you're convinced you're unlucky or just not one of those people, your brain will make sure you stay stuck. This is where the real danger of the positivity myth lives. Because the more you believe you're supposed to be able to do anything, the more you'll blame yourself when reality doesn't match up. You'll either burn out trying to bend the world to your will, or you'll give up entirely, convinced you just weren't positive enough. So where's the balance? It's not about swinging from one extreme to the other, from I can do anything to I can't do anything. The power comes from seeing yourself and your situation honestly, and then using positive thinking as a strategy, not a substitute for hard work or talent. The best athletes in the world know they can't win every time. The top business minds understand that failure is built into the process. What separates them is not delusional self-belief, but relentless optimism in the face of setbacks. They see possibilities where others see problems, but they also know when it's time to pivot, learn new skills, or adjust their goals. This is where the real story begins. Positive thinking isn't about denying your limitations. It's about refusing to let those limitations define you. It's about showing up with your eyes wide open, ready to work, and daring to expect the best. Not because you're owed success, but because you know you're ready to give your best shot every single day. It's about seeing a mountain, acknowledging how steep it is, and deciding to climb anyway, not because you're certain you'll reach the top, but because you know you'll become stronger in the process. Let's put it this way. Positive thinking won't let you do anything, but it will let you do everything better than negative thinking. It's the secret ingredient that helps you spot the hidden paths, bounce back from defeat, and keep going when everyone else has quit. It won't turn you into a superhero overnight, but it will make you the kind of person who keeps growing, learning, and showing up no matter what the world throws your way. So if you're tired of empty mantras and ready to start living with both eyes open, here's the promise: you don't have to choose between realism and optimism. The sweet spot is right in the middle. And as we dig deeper into this journey, you'll discover the real habits and strategies that make positivity work for you, not as a fairy tale, but as a game plan. But if positive thinking alone isn't enough, what is? What's the missing ingredient that turns wishful thinking into real-world results? The answer is coming next, and it might just change the way you look at every goal you've ever set. It's easy to dismiss positive thinking as wishful nonsense, just empty hype sold by people who want to make a quick buck off your hope. But once you get past all the marketing, there's something deeper here, something that can actually change your results, your energy, and even your relationships with the world. Because positive thinking, when you use it the right way, is about far more than crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's about rewiring your entire approach to life's obstacles, opportunities, and even your failures. Let's get specific. What can a positive mindset actually do? The answer, a lot, just not the things most people expect. It won't give you superhuman skills, but it will upgrade every skill you already have. Think of it as an amplifier. Positive thinking won't turn you into a concert pianist overnight, but it will help you practice longer, bounce back faster from mistakes, and see improvement where someone else might give up in frustration. It's like going through life with your brain tuned to find solutions instead of focusing on problems. Here's the science behind it. Studies on what psychologists call cognitive reframing show that people who consciously focus on what they can do rather than what they can't are not only happier, they're more resilient. Their immune systems are stronger. They bounce back faster after failures or disappointments. In the business world, salespeople with a positive attitude routinely outperform their more negative colleagues, not because they're lucky, but because they don't take rejection as personally and are more likely to try again. You don't have to be a scientist to see how this plays out in real life. Think about any time you faced a challenge, maybe a tough exam, a nerve-wracking job interview, or a setback that made you question if it was even worth continuing. The difference between those who get back up and those who stay down is almost always mindset. The ones who say, well, this is tough, but I'm tougher, are the ones who find a way forward. They aren't blind to reality, they just refuse to let setbacks become permanent. There's another reason positive thinking works so well: it changes what you notice. The human brain is wired to look for threats. It's a leftover from the days when our ancestors had to be on constant alert for predators. Today, those threats aren't lions lurking in the grass. They're failed tests, critical emails, and social media comparisons. If you let your mind run on autopilot, it will almost always spot the negative first. But when you train your brain to look for opportunities, lessons, and even small wins, your whole outlook shifts. Suddenly, doors you never saw before start to crack open. Conversations get easier. Even hard days don't feel quite as heavy. Think about the simple act of setting a goal. Someone with a negative mindset might see all the reasons it won't work. It's too late for me, I don't have the connections, I always mess this up. Someone with a positive mindset asks, how could I get this done? Who could help me? What's one small step I could take right now? One person's story ends before it starts. The other person starts writing a new chapter, one action at a time. But this isn't just about feeling good in the moment. Positive thinking creates momentum. Every time you choose to see a challenge as a chance instead of a curse, you build confidence. That confidence adds up, and over time, it changes the story you tell yourself about what's possible. Instead of living on defense, you start playing offense. Instead of waiting for things to get easier, you start searching for ways to get stronger. Here's a powerful example. Imagine you're trying to get healthier, but you've failed at sticking to new habits before. If you approach it with a negative mindset, I never stick with anything, I always quit, why bother? It's almost guaranteed you'll stop at the first sign of struggle. But with a positive mindset, I've messed up before, but this time I'll try something different. Maybe a smaller goal or a new routine. You give yourself permission to improve, not just repeat the past. Suddenly, setbacks become feedback instead of stop signs. The real magic, positive thinking is contagious. Spend time around someone who genuinely believes solutions exist and that progress is possible. And you can't help but start seeing possibilities too. That's why whole teams, families, and even communities can rise or fall based on the general attitude of the group. Ever worked in a place where negativity was the norm? Every day felt heavier than it needed to. But the second you step into a place where people say, we'll figure it out, you feel lighter, more creative, and less afraid to try. But let's make one thing clear. Positivity isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's not about denying pain, ignoring setbacks, or pretending to be happy when you're not. It's about refusing to stay stuck in the problem and stubbornly searching for the next best step. It's grit, it's hope, it's choosing to see yourself as a work in progress, not a finished product. So what does this mean for you? It means the next time you hit a wall, pause. Notice the negative thought, but don't let it have the last word. Ask yourself, what's one thing I could do differently? Who could help me move forward? What's the opportunity in this setback? Train yourself to look for the lesson. You'll be shocked at how fast your energy and your results start to change. Here's the bottom line. Positive thinking won't let you do everything, but it will make you better at everything you do. It'll help you recover, adapt, and build a story you're actually proud of. And that's not just hype, it's the foundation for every other skill, goal, or habit you want to build. But what happens if you have all the positivity in the world, but no direction? If you want to turn mindset into results, you need a target. And that's where most people lose their way, goal setting. In the next section, we'll break down why having clear, specific goals is the difference between drifting through life and actually achieving what you want. Because even the best mindset can't help you if you don't know where you're going next. Here's a question that doesn't get asked enough. Why do so many people with decent skills, good intentions, and even a positive attitude never end up where they want to be? Why does life seem to slip by, one year blending into the next with little to show for all the effort? It's not because they're lazy, it's not because they're destined to fail. More often than not, it's because they're missing one crucial ingredient, direction. Think about it. If you hop in a car with a full tank of gas but don't know your destination, you'll end up anywhere. Maybe you'll stumble onto something good. Maybe you'll just circle the same block for hours, but you'll never arrive on purpose. Most people are living life exactly like that. Busy, moving, spending energy, but with no clear end in mind. They're caught up in the rush of daily routines, work, bills, family, social obligations, distractions. Weeks become months, months become years. And then one day they wake up wondering, how did I get here? This isn't just an abstract problem. It's the silent epidemic of our time. So many people drift because they've never taken the time or been taught how to set meaningful, specific goals. Instead, they operate on autopilot, chasing after whatever pops up, putting out fires instead of building dreams. They let life happen to them rather than making life happen for them. And here's where positive thinking by itself falls short. You can wake up every day with a can-do attitude, but if you don't have a destination in mind, that energy gets wasted. You become a champion at being busy instead of making progress. Your confidence goes up and down with the circumstances around you, and before you know it, another year is gone, leaving you frustrated and wondering what's missing. So what's the difference between people who drift and people who drive their lives with intention? It's simple: goals. But not just any goals, the right kind. Vague wishes like I want to be happier or I should lose weight don't count. Real goals are clear, measurable, and written down. They're like a GPS for your life. Instead of wandering, you move with purpose, adjusting your course as needed, but always keeping your eye on the destination. Let's get practical. Every truly successful person in any field has mastered the art of goal setting. They don't just let life happen, they design it. They have goals for every major area: physical health, finances, career, spirituality, relationships, personal growth, and even fun. Why? Because they know life is complicated, and if you don't plan for balance, something important always gets left behind. But there's more. Setting goals isn't just about achievement, it's about energy. Big goals create excitement. They give you a reason to get out of bed, something to work for, a reason to stretch. If your goal doesn't scare you a little, it's probably not big enough. That's what separates average from extraordinary. Big goals give you focus. They cut through distraction and motivate you to keep going even when things get tough. It's also about resilience. Life will throw curveballs, illness, job loss, relationship problems, market crashes. If your only goals are short-term, you'll get knocked off track. But if you have long-range goals, something bigger to aim for, you'll push through the rough patches. Short-term pain becomes bearable when you remember the bigger picture. Here's the twist most people miss. The difference between a dreamer and a doer is daily action. Anyone can have big dreams, but without daily objectives, you stay stuck in the world of what-ifs. It's easy to imagine the life you want while scrolling social media or drifting off to sleep. It's much harder to wake up and put in the work every day, especially when progress is slow or setbacks happen. That's why great achievers, people who change their lives, build businesses, write books, break personal records, make their long-range goals part of their daily routine. They break them down into bite-sized tasks. They measure progress, adjust strategies, and stay accountable. They don't wait for motivation. They build habits that carry them through, even when they don't feel like it. And let's not forget the importance of specificity. A vague goal gets vague results. Want a new home? Picture every detail: square footage, the layout, the neighborhood, even how the living room smells. Dreaming of a new car? Know the make, the model, the color, the features. Specific goals let your mind get to work creating a roadmap. The clearer your vision, the more likely you are to spot the opportunities and resources you need to get there. But what about obstacles? Everybody faces them. Sometimes circumstances are beyond your control: illness, family emergencies, market crashes. But if your goals are real and compelling, you'll find a way to keep moving forward. That's what separates the people who talk about their dreams from those who actually live them. So ask yourself right now, are you drifting or are you driving? Do you have clear goals in every important area of your life? Are you moving towards something on purpose or just hoping things will work out? The good news is you can change your direction at any time. It's never too late to start. If you want to stop drifting and start achieving, the next step is learning how to set and pursue goals the right way. That means getting honest about where you are, daring to aim higher than you think is possible, and building a system that keeps you moving forward, one step at a time. In the next section, we'll break down a proven step-by-step process for goal setting, one used by some of the most successful people on the planet. You'll learn how to go from vague wish to clear, actionable plan. Because once you understand how to set the right goals, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish, not just someday, but starting today. So you're done with drifting. You're ready to get off the treadmill of vague hopes and start driving your life in the direction you actually want. But how do you go from wishing things were different to actually making them different? That's where the real power of goal setting comes in. A system so simple, anyone can use it, yet so powerful, it's used by Olympic athletes, self-made millionaires, and world-changing leaders. Let's break it down, step by step. Step 1, identify your goals. It all starts with clarity. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Don't just settle for the usual answers, dig deep. List every goal that comes to mind, big or small, without worrying about how you'll get there yet. Think in categories: physical, health, fitness, energy; financial, savings, income, investments; spiritual, personal growth; faith, meaning, career, skills, promotions, business ventures; to family, relationships, connection, legacy; mental, learning, creativity, mental health; social, friendships, network, influence. If you're not sure where to start, imagine your ideal day 5 years from now. Where are you? What are you doing? Who's with you? What problems have you solved? The clearer you get, the stronger your goals become. Step 2, set a deadline. A dream with no deadline is just a wish. When you set a timeline, you create urgency. Someday becomes by next June. Your mind shifts from hoping to planning. Big goals may need longer time frames, but short-term milestones keep you motivated along the way. Write down a realistic, specific deadline for each major goal, even if it feels ambitious. Step 3, list the obstacles. Here's where most people stop. They picture the dream but ignore the roadblocks. If you want to succeed, you have to be honest about what's in your way. Is it a lack of knowledge, a bad habit, a tough schedule, or even a toxic environment? List every obstacle, big or small. Remember, obstacles aren't there to defeat you, they're there to be solved. Step 4, find the people who can help. No one succeeds alone. For every obstacle, there's someone who's already overcome it. Is there a mentor, coach, colleague, or friend who can guide you? Are there books, podcasts, or communities that can show you the way? Success leaves clues. Learn from those who've walked the path before you. Step 5, list the skills you have and those you need. Every goal demands growth. What skills do you already have that will help you? What skills are missing? Maybe you need to learn to manage money, speak in public, or get better at time management. Don't get discouraged. Instead, get curious. The sooner you identify these gaps, the sooner you can start closing them. Step 6, build a plan. Now comes the magic. Turn your list into a plan of action. What's the very first step you can take today? Break each goal into small, specific actions. If you want to save money, maybe step 1 is opening a separate account or tracking your spending for a week. If you want to write a book, maybe it's outlining chapters or writing 100 words a day. Big achievements are just the result of small actions repeated over time. But here's a secret most people never learn. Your plan needs to be visual. Don't just write, "I want a new car." Picture it in your mind. See the color, the dashboard, the sound of the engine. feel the steering wheel in your hand. The clearer your mental picture, the more motivated you'll be, and the more your subconscious mind starts searching for ways to make it happen. That's not magic, that's psychology. Step 7, make it daily. This is the dividing line between dreamers and doers. Goals that live only on paper get lost in the shuffle. You have to bring them into your daily routine. What's one thing you can do every day to move closer to your goal? Make a call, send an email, work out, practice a skill, just one action every single day. These micro commitments are the secret to building momentum. Step 8, track and adjust. Nobody gets it perfect the first time. Track your actions, measure your progress, and celebrate the wins, no matter how small. If something's not working, don't quit. Adjust. Tweak your plan, seek advice, try a new approach. Winners aren't the people who never fail, they're the ones who keep adapting until they get it right. Step 9, go big and be specific. Don't be afraid to aim high. Big goals spark excitement. They make you jump out of bed in the morning. But make them specific, not vague. Instead of I want to be rich, aim for I want to build a business that earns $100,000 a year by December 2026. Instead of I want to get healthy, go for I want to run a 10K race in under an hour by next spring. Specificity is the secret sauce that makes goals real. Step 10, stay flexible and forgiving. Life will throw you off course. Circumstances change. People let you down. You'll make mistakes. That's not failure, that's reality. The key is to keep your eye on the long-range vision, even when the path twists and turns. Forgive yourself for setbacks. Recommit to your plan. Remember, persistence outlasts almost any obstacle. When you follow this process, something incredible happens. You stop drifting. You start driving. You build confidence, energy, and resilience because every day you're making real progress. You don't have to wait for a perfect moment. You start now with what you have, and you grow as you go. Most people never do this. They keep their dreams vague, never break them down, and never give themselves the satisfaction of daily wins. But you can be different. This isn't just theory, it's the proven path walked by achievers in every field. The only question left is, will you take the first step? But there's more to success than just having goals. What you feed your mind every single day matters. Just as much, maybe even more. In the next section, we'll reveal how the information you consume can either supercharge your journey or secretly sabotage your progress. The difference between winners and quitters often comes down to their information diet. Get ready to upgrade yours. You've probably heard the saying, you are what you eat. It's true for your body, but it's even more true for your mind. Every thought, belief, and habit you have is shaped by what you allow into your head. Most people guard their kitchen from junk food, but let garbage flood into their minds day after day without a second thought. And here's the kicker. The quality of your mental diet will decide not just how you think, but how you act, feel, and ultimately what you achieve. Imagine this for a moment. If someone walked into your living room with a big bucket of garbage and dumped it all over your floor, you'd freak out, you'd chase them out, call the cops, maybe even tell the story for months. Yet every day, most of us let the mental equivalent happen, letting in negative news, toxic social media, pointless drama, and self-doubt. We rarely pause to ask, is this helping me get closer to my goals or is it holding me back? Here's a truth almost everyone overlooks. One negative input takes 11 positive ones to balance out. That's not just motivational fluff, it's based on how our brains work. Negativity is sticky. It latches on, playing in your head over and over like a bad song you can't stop humming. It's why a single piece of criticism can outweigh a dozen compliments, or why bad news always seems louder than good news. So what's going into your mind every day? Are you scrolling through endless arguments online, doom-scrolling news feeds, or zoning out to hours of mindless TV? Or are you filling your head with ideas, inspiration, and skills that move you forward? The answer matters more than you think. Your mind is your greatest asset or your biggest liability, depending on how you feed it. Let's talk about the people who get this right. The most successful people, no matter their field, guard their minds like a fortress. They're picky about what they read, who they listen to, and even what conversations they engage in. They know that what goes in will shape every decision, reaction, and idea that comes out. Instead of starting their day with social media outrage or celebrity gossip, they fill it with something that stretches them, a powerful book, a podcast that teaches, a conversation with someone smarter than themselves. Some use what might sound like old school tools like audiobooks or motivational recordings to learn while they drive, walk, or cook dinner. It's a simple hack, but it's life-changing. Picture this. The average commuter drives 12,000 miles a year. If you spend that time learning instead of zoning out, you could get the equivalent of a 2-year college education in your car just by pressing play. People like Mary Kay Ash, H.L. Hunt, Wallace Johnson, and even astronauts going to the moon have used this exact approach to feed their minds and stay sharp. But don't just listen or read when you're down and need a boost. The real secret, listen and read when you're already feeling good. Why? Because when your energy is high, your imagination is fired up. New ideas stick, solutions appear. You're not grabbing at straws, you're building a mental library for the next time you hit a rough patch. Listen to the right things when you're up, and you'll store away wisdom you didn't even know you'd need. Now, let's talk about the what. Not all information is created equal. Here's a quick gut check. Is what you're consuming building you up or tearing you down? Does it help you achieve your goals or distract you from them? Would you be proud to share what you've learned or listened to today? If the answer is no, it's time to make a change. Start small. Replace 15 minutes of negative news with a chapter from a great book. Swap that social media rabbit hole for a podcast that makes you smarter. Set a rule. No pointless browsing until you've invested in your mind for the day. You'll be amazed how quickly your mood, energy, and even your confidence shift. And don't underestimate the power of reading. If you spend just 20 minutes a day with a good book, you'll read 2,200-page books a year. Meanwhile, the average adult only reads a single book. If that, imagine the advantage you'll have, the insights you'll gain, the edge you'll build over everyone stuck in the mental junk food trap. But here's the warning. This isn't a one-and-done solution. You need repetition. Listen to the best material over and over, 16 times or more. With each pass, you'll hear something new. Lessons will sink deeper, decisions will become commitments, and commitments will turn into action. That's how you build habits that last. Your mind is the engine for everything you do. Garbage in, garbage out. Excellence in, excellence out. It's that simple. So do a mental audit. What's going in? What needs to change? Who do you need to spend more time listening to? What should you cut out? Your future self is shaped by the mental meals you eat today. But there's a twist. Your mental environment isn't just about what you consume, but how you process it. You need quiet time to let your brain digest, reflect, and create. In the next section, we'll explore the lost art of slowing down, being still, and using quiet moments as rocket fuel for your next big leap. Because when your mind is fed and rested, you become unstoppable. If you want to build a winning life, study the people who've done it, not just for their trophies, but for their habits. The world's top achievers, from self-made millionaires to astronauts to legendary entrepreneurs, have more in common than you'd think. It's not just talent or luck that sets them apart. It's the routines they build, the choices they repeat, and the little things they do every single day, even when nobody's watching. Take Mary Kay Ash, for example. She started Mary Kay Cosmetics at a time when the business world was a boys' club. Everyone expected her to fail, but she refused to listen to the naysayers. One habit set her apart. She never got in her car without a cassette or audio program that taught her something new. Even while driving from one appointment to the next, she turned dead time into learn time. That simple habit, multiplied over months and years, made her sharper, more motivated, and always one step ahead of the competition. Or look at H.L. Hunt. Once one of the richest men in America, Hunt was worth $3 billion at his death, a fortune built not just on oil wells, but on relentless self-improvement. Well into his 80s, Hunt listened to tapes and sought out new ideas, refusing to believe there was nothing left for him to learn. When most people would have coasted, he kept his mind active and hungry. The world changed around him, but he was always ready to adapt. Wallace Johnson, co-founder of Holiday Inns International, had the same drive. Over 80 years old, Johnson didn't slow down. He made a point to read at least 2 good books every month and continued listening to motivational recordings daily. When asked why, he said he was competing against people half his age, so he'd better keep growing twice as fast. And then there's Alan Bean, an astronaut who walked on the moon. If anyone had a right to feel like they'd made it, it was him. Yet even on the way to the moon and back, Bean and his fellow astronauts filled their downtime listening to motivational and educational recordings. These were people with the best training, the sharpest minds, the highest confidence, yet they never stopped feeding their minds. Why? Because they knew there's no finish line in learning. These stories aren't just about old school work ethic, they're proof of a universal principle. Success is a habit, not an accident. High achievers don't leave their growth to chance. They plan for it. They make learning automatic, effortless, woven into the routines of daily life. They understand that if you want to stay ahead, you can't just coast. You have to keep climbing, even when the world says you've arrived. But here's the twist. The best time to feed your mind isn't when you're desperate or in a rut. It's when you're already doing well. Most people reach for motivation when they're down. And yes, a good message can lift you out of a funk. But when you're at your best, your mind is primed to absorb more. Ideas stick. You see connections you'd never notice otherwise. That's when you're most creative and when good habits really take root. Ever notice how athletes watch film even after a win? Or how top entrepreneurs double down on learning right after a big breakthrough? They know success can make you complacent. The only way to keep growing is to make learning a lifestyle, not a rescue tool. That means reading good books, listening to thought-provoking material, and seeking out conversations that challenge you even when everything's going right. The other secret, repetition. Top performers revisit the same material over and over. Why? Because the first time you hear something, it's just information. The 16th time, it's second nature. Think about learning a song on the piano or a new language. At first, it's awkward and clumsy, but as you repeat it, something shifts. It becomes automatic. Your brain rewires itself, turning effort into instinct. That's why successful people listen to the same lessons again and again. Every time something new pops out, you hear what you need when you're ready for it. What started as motivation turns into commitment, and commitment becomes habit. Before long, you're not just wishing for change, you're living it. But these habits aren't only about work or money, they spill over into every area of life, health, relationships, faith, creativity. Winners are always on the lookout for small improvements, a new way to eat better, a different approach to managing stress, a strategy for staying close to loved ones even when life gets busy. Want to build a habit like the pros? Start simple. Pick one new thing to learn every month and make it a priority. Use your commute, chores, or downtime to listen to something that stretches your mind. Reread your favorite books or re-listen to old recordings. You'll be shocked at what you missed. After every win, double down on learning instead of slacking off. Set up accountability. Talk about what you've learned with a friend, mentor, or community. And most of all, remember this: habits don't stick because you do them once. They stick because you do them over and over, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where the real transformation happens, when it stops being something you should do and becomes part of who you are. You don't need to be a billionaire or a moonwalker to live this way. All it takes is one small decision repeated until it becomes a reflex, and once you experience the power of steady, focused self-improvement, you'll never go back. The world's most successful people aren't the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who made growth a habit and never stopped climbing. But even the best habits need the right environment. If your life is always loud, busy, and distracted, there's no room for those lessons to settle in. That's why in the next section we'll explore the lost art of quiet time. How taking just a few minutes for stillness can be the most powerful habit of all. Because real growth happens not just in action, but in reflection. Ready to unlock the next secret? Let's get quiet. If there's one thing top performers understand better than anyone else, it's this: nothing of lasting value happens by accident, and nothing sticks without repetition. You can read the best advice, hear the greatest speeches, or be inspired by a once-in-a-lifetime event. But if you don't return to those ideas again and again, they'll fade away as quickly as they came. Real change, real commitment is built on the simple, sometimes boring, sometimes uncomfortable art of repetition. Let's dig into why repetition is so powerful. Every time you learn something new, your brain builds connections like tiny trails in a forest. At first, those trails are faint. The first time you hear an idea or try a new habit, it feels awkward, foreign, and a little bit forced. But every time you go over the same ground, that trail gets wider. Do it often enough, and it becomes a highway, automatic, effortless, and natural. That's how athletes develop muscle memory, how musicians play with their eyes closed, and how leaders react in a crisis without overthinking. Repetition doesn't just help you remember facts, it reshapes your identity. Think about any major change in your life: learning to drive, mastering a new language, building a morning routine. The first days or weeks are clumsy, maybe even discouraging. But after enough practice, you don't have to think about the steps. It's part of you. The old you, the person who didn't have that skill or habit, starts to disappear. The new you emerges, one decision, one repetition at a time. The science backs this up. Neuroscientists have found that repeated thoughts and actions literally rewire your brain, a process called neuroplasticity. Every time you repeat a positive thought, visualize your goal, or practice a healthy habit, you're strengthening the connections that make future success easier. Over time, your brain starts to expect success, to look for opportunity, and to respond with confidence instead of fear. But here's where most people trip up. They stop too soon. They try a new habit or idea for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but when results aren't instant or excitement fades, they quit. The old neural pathways, those highways built by years of old thinking, take over again. It's not a lack of motivation, it's a lack of consistency. The people who win aren't the ones who start the fastest. They're the ones who refuse to stop. This is where commitment comes into play. Deciding to change is important, but repeating that decision day after day, especially when it's inconvenient, is what transforms your life. There's a world of difference between making a decision and making a commitment. A decision says, I'll try. A commitment says, I will, no matter what. How do you move from decision to commitment? Through repetition. Every time you revisit your goals, every time you reread your vision, every time you show up for your habits, even when nobody's watching, you're making your commitment stronger. It's why the most effective motivational recordings and books recommend listening or reading them at least 16 times. That's not a marketing gimmick, it's science. Each time you hear the message, another layer of resistance falls away and the new behavior becomes more natural. Imagine a pianist learning a new piece. She doesn't master it by reading the sheet music once. She practices it again and again, sometimes focusing on a single difficult bar until it's second nature. Every repetition is a small victory, a vote for the person she wants to become. It's the same with you. Every time you practice a new habit or review your goal, you're casting a vote for your future self. But repetition isn't just about mindless action, it's about refining your craft. The best performers don't just repeat, they improve with every round. They notice what's working, adjust their technique, and get a little better each time. It's this feedback loop, action, reflection, adjustment, that creates mastery over time. This principle applies everywhere. Want to get fit? The best workout is the one you do over and over. Want to grow your business? The best marketing plan is the one you stick with and refine, not the one you drop after a month. Want stronger relationships? The best conversations are the ones you keep having, through good times and bad, with honesty and curiosity. Here's another key: repetition builds resilience. Life will throw setbacks your way. You'll mess up. You'll forget. You'll get tired or discouraged. But when you've practiced bouncing back, when you've repeated the habit of starting again, you develop a kind of mental toughness that outlasts failure. Winners aren't perfect, they're relentless. They don't quit because they had a bad day, week, or month. They show up again and again, knowing that progress compounds. So what can you do today to harness the science of repetition and commitment? Pick one goal or habit you care about and commit to repeating it daily, no matter what, for the next 30 days. Track your progress, use a calendar, journal, or app. Seeing the streak build is its own reward. Don't get discouraged by imperfection. Missing a day isn't failure. Giving up is. Remind yourself why it matters. Keep your goals visible on your wall, in your phone, or wherever you'll see them. Celebrate small wins. Every repetition is a step closer to mastery. Remember, you are what you repeat. Small choices made consistently will shape your future more than any single burst of inspiration. Decide, commit, repeat, and watch as the impossible starts to feel inevitable. But there's another, often overlooked side to this: the role of quiet time in locking in your gains. All the repetition and action in the world won't matter if you never give your mind a chance to breathe, reflect, and reset. In the next section, we'll discover how the simple act of being quiet, of sitting still, unplugged from the chaos, can transform your energy, creativity, and long-term success. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to pause. Imagine this: the alarm goes off, and before your feet even hit the floor, your mind is already racing through 100 urgent tasks. Emails to answer, kids to get ready, bills to pay, errands to run, deadlines to chase. The day rushes by in a blur of noise, traffic, and constant demands. By evening, you're exhausted, your brain fried from nonstop stimulation. You collapse in front of the TV, barely remembering what happened, and drift off to sleep only to do it all again tomorrow. Sound familiar? For most people, this is modern life. But what if the secret weapon you're missing isn't another productivity hack, a more efficient app, or even a bigger goal? What if it's nothing? Just a few minutes of true intentional quiet, no phone, no screens, no podcasts, music, or background noise, just you, your thoughts, and a little bit of stillness. It sounds simple, even too simple. Yet this single habit can unlock more creativity, focus, and energy than almost anything else. Here's the paradox of the high achiever: the busier you are, the more you need quiet. The most successful people, the ones who lead, innovate, and perform at the highest levels, are masters of carving out time for reflection. They know that action without reflection leads to burnout and bad decisions. Reflection without action is daydreaming. But combine the two and you get power, ideas that stick, lessons that last, and a mind that can handle whatever comes next. Why is quiet time so powerful? For starters, your brain needs space to process everything you throw at it. When you're always consuming news, notifications, entertainment, you don't just fill up on information, you clog the gears that make new ideas possible. It's like trying to hear a single violin in the middle of a roaring crowd. Stillness lets the noise fade. It's in the quiet moments that your best ideas bubble up, solutions to problems appear, and big picture patterns become clear. Scientists call this the default mode network, the mental state your brain enters when you're not focused on anything in particular. It's where daydreaming, creativity, and problem solving happen. That's why you get ideas in the shower, on a walk, or right before falling asleep. But in today's hyper-connected world, we rarely let our minds wander without distraction. We rob ourselves of that secret advantage. If you want proof that quiet works, just look at the top performers across any field. Many of the world's most effective leaders start their days with stillness. No phone, no meetings, just a notebook and their thoughts. They reflect on what's coming, what they're grateful for, and where they want to improve. The payoff isn't just peace, it's focus and intentionality. It's the ability to start the day leading, not reacting. But don't just take it from the gurus. There's hard data behind this. Studies show that just a few minutes of daily quiet meditation, deep breathing, or simply sitting still reduces stress, sharpens memory, and boosts your ability to make good decisions. It even improves your immune system. Your mind and body are hardwired to recover and grow in stillness. Skip this and you're running on fumes. So why do so few people make time for quiet? Part of it is fear. When you sit still, all the stuff you've been avoiding starts to bubble up. Worries, regrets, unfinished goals. Your brain tries to distract you. Maybe check your phone. Don't you have something urgent to do? This is normal. It's also why those first few quiet sessions can feel almost unbearable. But stick with it and you'll start to crave the calm. Here's how to make quiet time a habit, even if your life feels chaotic. Start small. Don't aim for an hour of meditation right away. Begin with 5 minutes, sitting comfortably, eyes closed or soft focused, just paying attention to your breath. Pick a regular time and place. Mornings work for some, evenings for others. The key is consistency. Train your brain to expect quiet. Expect resistance. Your mind will wander. You'll remember chores, emails, or to-dos. Let those thoughts float by and gently return to your breath or your focus word. Reflect. Don't judge. Use the quiet to review your day, plan ahead, or just enjoy the silence. This isn't about perfection. It's about building a buffer between you and the noise of the world. Use walks or meaningless time. Not every quiet moment needs to be meditation. Take a slow, aimless walk with no agenda, or just sit on your porch and watch the world. If you make this a priority, even 4 or 5 times a week, you'll notice the difference. Suddenly your days feel less frantic. Challenges seem more manageable. You become more creative, more present, and even a little more patient with the people around you. Quiet time also reconnects you to your deepest priorities. In the stillness, you remember what matters, the people you love, the values you stand for, the big goals that give life meaning. You become less reactive and more intentional. Instead of living on autopilot, you start steering again. But don't just use this time to de-stress. Use it to fuel your next move. Ask yourself, what am I excited about? What needs my attention today? What can I do right now that will move me closer to my goals? Let your mind wander and then capture the best ideas that float to the top. And here's a challenge. Next time you're tempted to fill every spare moment with your phone, try 5 minutes of quiet instead. You might just be surprised at what you discover inside your own mind. Now, imagine what would happen if you brought this same level of intentionality, not just to your own growth, but to your relationship. Because the next big breakthrough isn't always about what you do alone, it's about who you bring along with you. In the next section, we'll explore the data and stories behind strong connections, family, and why your success is deeply tied to the people you value most. Here's a truth that's rarely splashed across Instagram. No matter how motivated, disciplined, or positive you become, your success will always be limited by the quality of your relationships. Yes, your family, friends, mentors, colleagues, and the people you choose to share your life with. Because behind every extraordinary achievement, there's almost always a network of trust, support, and love that makes it possible. But don't just take it from the self-help crowd. Let's look at the hard data. Korn Ferry International, one of the world's top executive search firms, once partnered with UCLA's School of Management to study more than 1,300 vice presidents in major companies, all striving to reach the top. These weren't average folks. They were driven, ambitious, and at the peak of their careers. What separated the highest achievers, the ones who made it all the way to the president's chair? The answers might shock you. First, the best of the best were loyal. They'd spent on average 15 years at the same company. They weren't job hoppers or always looking for the next big thing. Instead, they built roots and relationships, proving their worth over time. Even more surprising, 87% of these top performers were still married to their one and only mate. 92% grew up in two-parent homes. The lesson is clear: stability at home fuels stability at work. But it goes deeper. When asked what they'd do with more time, the majority said they'd spend it with their spouses or children. Not work more hours, not grind harder, but deepen the bonds that matter most. And nearly all credited integrity, hard work, and strong family values as the real keys to their success. In fact, faith played a quiet but powerful role. 89% identified as Catholic, Jewish, or Protestant, and nearly all said their spiritual life mattered. Want another eye-opener? U.S. News and World Report once studied American millionaires. Their findings shattered the myth of the lone wolf genius or the overnight success. The typical millionaire wasn't a celebrity athlete or Silicon Valley coder. They'd built wealth over 20 to 30 years, working about 50 hours a week, not 80, not 100. They were still married to their high school or college sweethearts with a family life that stayed intact. Less than 1% of millionaires earned their fortunes in entertainment, sports, or the lottery. The overwhelming majority made it slowly through sales, business, and decades of consistent effort. But there's more to relationships than just statistics. Ask anyone who's faced a true crisis, a health scare, a lost job, a deep disappointment, what got them through. 9 times out of 10, it wasn't a self-help book or motivational quote. It was a friend showing up, a spouse offering comfort, a parent believing in them, a mentor giving a nudge at just the right time. Success is rarely a solo act. The more connected you are, the more resilient, creative, and driven you become. Now, let's talk regret. Picture this. Every few months, close your eyes and imagine that everyone you love, your partner, parents, kids, best friends, suddenly vanished from your life. What would your regrets be? Would you wish you'd called more often, forgiven faster, spent less time at work, and more time just being present? Almost everyone answers yes. Yet most people act as if time is unlimited, putting off the conversations, the apologies, the laughter, and the togetherness for someday. Then someday becomes never. So how do you build relationships that make you stronger, not just busier? Prioritize time together, even if it means putting work or ambitions on pause for an hour or two. Communicate honestly. Talk about more than just your day. Talk about dreams, fears, and gratitude. Resolve conflicts quickly. Don't let petty arguments build walls. Tear them down before they grow. Celebrate wins together. A victory is twice as sweet when shared. A loss is half as heavy when supported. And if you're married or in a partnership, never stop investing in each other. The happiest, most successful couples keep dating, keep learning about each other, and keep building new memories. When studies asked top executives what they'd change if they could, the answer was clear: spend more time with my spouse. Not one said work more hours. It's not just about family. Your friends and community matter too. The more people you can count on and who can count on you, the more doors open. Mentors, business partners, colleagues, even acquaintances can provide the fresh perspective or opportunity you need at just the right moment. And let's not ignore faith, values, and shared purpose. Almost all high achievers report that a sense of meaning, something bigger than themselves, kept them grounded through ups and downs. But here's a tough truth: not all relationships are equal. Some people lift you up, others drain you dry. If you want a fulfilling life, Choose your circle wisely. Spend time with people who encourage your growth, challenge your thinking, and hold you accountable to your best self. Let go of the relationships that keep you stuck in old patterns or negativity. In the end, the real legacy isn't what you achieve, but who you become and who you help along the way. The most successful people are remembered not for their titles or bank balances, but for the lives they touched, the kids they raised, the friends they lifted, the strangers they helped when nobody was watching. So before you chase your next big goal, take a moment for the people who make it all possible. Call someone you love, say thank you, apologize if you need to. Plan a little extra time together this week. Because when the celebrations come or the storms hit, it's those connections that will make every achievement sweeter and every setback easier to survive. And here's the final twist. The habits and mindset you've been building, realistic positivity, clear goals, learning, repetition, reflection, and connection aren't just the formula for success. They're the blueprint for a life that actually feels worth living. In our conclusion, we'll tie everything together and give you one last challenge to ensure the journey you're on becomes your own extraordinary story. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture. After all the noise, the endless advice, and the mountains of motivational content you've heard, it comes down to this: the extraordinary life isn't built overnight, and it's never the result of just one miracle habit or viral secret. It's the sum of choices made every day, small, specific, sometimes inconvenient, often invisible to the outside world. Success isn't luck. It's not a personality trait, it's a craft. Think about the journey you've just traveled through this script. You've learned that positive thinking alone won't make you unstoppable, but it can be a powerful tool when paired with realism, relentless action, and a willingness to see the world as it is. The happiest, most fulfilled people aren't just dreamers, they're architects. They set specific goals, and they're honest about what they want, what they need to learn, and what stands in their way. You've seen how drifting through life, no matter how hard you work or how much you care, will never get you to the destination you haven't chosen. Purpose isn't an accident, it's intentional, and it's precise. It's the difference between wishing for change and engineering it, one carefully placed brick at a time. We've looked at the science and stories behind goal setting, how the world's best don't just think big, they break their dreams down into actions, deadlines, and daily disciplines. They list the obstacles, find the mentors, and learn the skills. They visualize the finish line until it feels real enough to chase. But above all, they commit to starting small and showing up day after day, even when nobody's watching. And the fuel for all this, your mental diet. Your brain becomes what you feed it, just like your body. The difference between the world's winners and everyone else isn't always raw intelligence or natural charisma. It's how seriously they protect their thoughts, what they read, what they listen to, who they spend time with, and how they challenge themselves to keep learning long after the diploma is earned. We unpack the secret weapon of high achievers' relentless, mindful repetition. You can't hack your way to mastery. The best performers listen, read, and practice their craft until it becomes reflex. The more you repeat a positive behavior, the more it becomes who you are, not just something you do. But even the strongest routines, the most ambitious goals, and the most disciplined habits will fall flat if your mind never gets a break. In the rush to do, we forget how to be. Quiet time, just a few moments of stillness, gives you the space to reflect, recharge, and think deeply. That's where your breakthroughs are born. It's in the silence that the puzzle pieces of your life rearrange themselves into something clear and new. And finally, you've seen that none of this matters if you walk the road alone. Relationships are the true foundation. The research is overwhelming. The happiest, most resilient, and yes, most successful people are those who invest deeply in family, friendships, community, and even faith. Money and fame might open doors, but it's love and loyalty that fill the room. When the storm comes, and it always does, it's your relationships that will keep you anchored. So where does this leave you? Maybe you're fired up, ready to take on the world with a fresh set of goals. Or maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed, realizing just how much you want to change. Either way, remember this: transformation doesn't happen in a single leap. It's a journey of thousands of small, consistent steps. Here's a challenge just for you. Don't let this video be another wave of inspiration that fades in an hour. Instead, take one concrete action today, no matter how small, to move closer to the life you want. Maybe it's setting a new specific goal and writing it down. Maybe it's swapping 5 minutes of scrolling for 5 minutes of reading. Maybe it's scheduling a quiet walk, calling a loved one, or simply repeating an encouraging truth to yourself. One step today. And if you stumble, if you fall off the wagon or lose momentum, good. That's your chance to prove what you're made of. Remember, every setback is just another vote for your persistence. Every day is a fresh start, and the only way you truly fail is by giving up. Don't do it alone. Find someone, friend, family, coach, or even a community online who will walk the path with you. Share your goals. Be honest about your struggles. Lift each other up. The road gets easier and a lot more fun when you travel it together. As you close this video, I want you to ask yourself one question. What story do you want to tell a year from now? Will you look back on today as the turning point, the day you stopped drifting and started building, or will it blend into the blur, another page in the story you let the world write for you? You have the tools, you have the blueprint. Now, you get to choose. Will you be the architect of your own life, or just another bystander waiting for someone else to hand you the keys? If you're ready for more, the next video dives deep into the single most overlooked habit of millionaires and world changers, a daily ritual almost nobody talks about, but one that could shift everything for you. Don't miss it. And if this journey made you think, inspired you, or even challenged your beliefs, let us know in the comments. What's your biggest takeaway? What's the first step you'll take today? And who's the one person you'll share this with? Because in the end, your story isn't just about you, it's about the lives you touch, the dreams you unlock, and the legacy you leave. Go out there and make it count.